The memory paradox: why our brains need knowledge in an age of AI. In an era increasingly dominated by artificial intelligence, AI, and instant access to information via smartphones and search engines, a critical dialogue has emerged regarding the implications of this technological reliance on our cognitive capabilities. The recent paper titled "The Memory Paradox: Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in an Age of AI" delves into the cognitive consequences of outsourcing knowledge to technology, emphasizing the necessity of retaining stored knowledge for effective learning, critical thinking, and error correction. The rise of shallow thinking. With the convenience of smartphones and AI tools, individuals are increasingly tempted to forego the mental effort of memorization and critical reasoning. The paper asserts that this reliance on technology leads to shallow thinking, where the depth of cognitive engagement diminishes. Smartphones can retrieve facts and information effortlessly, but as a consequence, our brains may stop practicing the cognitive skills necessary for quick recall and intuition. This phenomenon is particularly concerning as it suggests a decline in our ability to think critically and creatively. The role of neuroscience in memory formation. Neuroscience research presented in the paper illustrates that memory formation is a dynamic process dependent on active recall. Memories are initially stored in the hippocampus and later shift to the basal ganglia, where they become habitual. However, when individuals rely heavily on calculators or AI for information retrieval, this transfer is disrupted. The act of recalling information strengthens neural connections, but if one consistently outsources memory tasks to technology, the brain does not engage in this essential process, leading to stagnation in cognitive development. Prediction error chemistry and learning. The authors introduced the concept of prediction error chemistry, which posits that effective learning requires forming internal hypotheses. When learners offload cognitive tasks onto AI, they miss the critical feedback loop necessary for adjusting and refining their understanding. This lack of engagement results in missed opportunities for learning and growth, as offloaded learners do not experience the necessary jolt when outputs are incorrect, which is crucial for learning from mistakes. Educational implications: a shift in learning paradigms. Over the past few decades, educational systems have shifted away from traditional memorization techniques towards a model that encourages students to just search. This transition, while reflective of the technological landscape, has led to concerning trends: stalled IQ gains, decreased literacy rates, and a general decline in numeracy skills. Students are reading less, counting less, and increasingly trusting screens for information, which undermines their ability to think independently and critically. Recommendations for cognitive resilience. In light of these findings, the authors propose 3 habits to cultivate cognitive resilience in an age of AI. 1. Overlearn core facts. Mastery of fundamental knowledge is essential for cognitive agility. By overlearning key concepts until they become second nature, individuals can enhance their ability to think critically and creatively. 2. Space retrieval practice. Implementing spaced retrieval techniques can help compact knowledge schemas, making information more accessible and facilitating deeper understanding. 3. Use technology as a support tool. Technology should be introduced to enhance speed and efficiency only after mastery of core content is achieved. This approach ensures that technology acts as a scaffold for learning rather than a crutch that impairs cognitive development. The MIT study, AI's impact on cognitive engagement. Further supporting these arguments, a recent study from MIT's Media Lab explored the cognitive impacts of using AI tools like ChatGPT compared to traditional search engines. Participants were divided into 3 groups: those using ChatGPT, those using Google, and those relying solely on their cognitive abilities. The findings revealed alarming trends. Participants using ChatGPT exhibited lower engagement levels, often resorting to copy and paste methods, while those who relied on their cognitive skills displayed higher neural connectivity and engagement. The study highlighted that over-reliance on AI could diminish critical thinking, particularly among younger individuals whose cognitive abilities are still developing. The research emphasizes the need for educators and policymakers to address the integration of AI within educational frameworks thoughtfully. The balancing act, technology and deep learning. As we navigate the complexities of integrating AI into learning environments, it is crucial to strike a balance between utilizing technology and fostering deep learning. While AI and search engines offer immediate convenience, they pose a risk of undermining our cognitive abilities and memory retention if not used in conjunction with foundational knowledge and practice. Experts urge that as society becomes more reliant on AI, the need for active, engaged learning must not be overlooked. Developing a robust educational framework that promotes deep understanding while leveraging technological aids is imperative for nurturing cognitive resilience. Conclusion. The conversation around AI's impact on cognitive abilities is more relevant than ever. The paper, The Memory Paradox: Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in an Age of AI, underscores the importance of stored knowledge in guiding interactions with AI, correcting errors, and building expertise. While technology can enhance learning, it is essential to approach its integration thoughtfully, ensuring that it supports rather than undermines our cognitive faculties. In the quest for knowledge in an AI-driven world, the mantra remains clear: know it, then Google it, or risk shallow thinking. The paper, The Memory Paradox: Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in an Age of AI, presents several counterintuitive insights regarding the impact of artificial intelligence and technology on cognitive development. Here are some key points that challenge conventional wisdom. 1. Outsourcing memory to technology. The widespread belief is that technology, especially smartphones and calculators, enhances our intelligence by providing quick access to information. However, the paper argues that this reliance on technology actually undermines cognitive practice. By outsourcing memory tasks to devices, individuals are less likely to engage in the mental processes necessary for strengthening memory and critical thinking skills. 2. LLMs versus human memory. Many people assume that large language models (LLMs) can replace the need for human memory and reasoning. The paper counters this by stating that while LLMs can efficiently retrieve information, they do not form the neural circuits required for quick recall and intuition. This suggests that the human brain requires a foundation of stored knowledge that cannot be replicated by AI. 3. Memory formation. It is generally thought that simply having access to information is sufficient for learning. However, the research presented in the paper indicates that memory retention and cognitive skills develop only through active recall. When individuals skip the process of recalling information because they can simply look it up, they hinder their ability to integrate knowledge into long-term memory. 4. Diminished learning opportunities. There is a common assumption that technology merely facilitates learning. However, the paper posits that when learners rely heavily on AI for tasks, they bypass critical feedback mechanisms that are essential for learning. This leads to a lack of engagement with the material, resulting in stagnant intellectual growth. 5. Educational shifts. The prevailing view in education has shifted towards promoting digital literacy and information retrieval skills at the expense of memorization and foundational knowledge. The authors argue that this shift has contributed to stagnated IQ gains and declining literacy and numeracy skills. This challenges the idea that moving away from memorization is an inherently positive trend. 6. Impact on developing minds. There is a belief that technology is a neutral tool that can be used effectively by anyone regardless of age. However, the research suggests that young learners are particularly vulnerable to the negative effects of over-reliance on AI tools, which can impair their cognitive development and critical thinking abilities. 7. 3 recommended habits. While many educators advocate for flexible learning strategies that incorporate technology, the paper recommends a structured approach that emphasizes mastering core facts before using technology. This contrasts with the common practice of integrating technology into learning from the onset, suggesting that a more deliberate method may be necessary to achieve effective learning outcomes. 8. Engagement levels. It is often assumed that using AI tools like ChatGPT can enhance engagement and creativity. Yet the study from MIT's Media Lab indicates that participants using ChatGPT displayed lower engagement and creativity compared to those relying solely on their cognitive abilities. This challenges the notion that AI tools inherently promote deeper thinking. 9. Long-term cognitive consequences. The prevailing attitude may be that the convenience of AI tools outweighs potential drawbacks. However, the paper emphasizes that the long-term cognitive consequences of relying on these tools, especially for young learners, could be detrimental, undermining the development of essential skills such as memory resilience and critical thinking. In summary, the insights from the memory paradox highlight that while technology offers convenience, it can also hinder cognitive development, particularly when it leads to a diminished reliance on human memory and critical thinking. This challenges the belief that increased access to information and AI tools will automatically enhance learning and cognitive abilities. Instead, a balanced approach that prioritizes foundational knowledge and cognitive engagement is essential for maintaining intellectual growth in the age of AI. The report, titled The Memory Paradox: Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in an Age of AI, presents a critical examination of how reliance on technology, particularly artificial intelligence (AI) and search engines, impacts cognitive abilities and learning processes. While the paper itself covers a range of significant topics, there are nuanced points that many readers might overlook, which are crucial for understanding the broader implications of technology on education and cognitive development. Here are some of the key overlooked aspects and their significance. 1. The role of memory recall in learning. One of the central tenets of the report is the neuroscience behind memory recall, specifically the process by which declarative facts transition from the hippocampus short-term memory to the basal ganglia long-term memory. The authors emphasize that memories only strengthen through active recall. This finding is significant because it suggests that simply accessing information through technology does not equate to learning. It can lead to a superficial understanding of concepts. When learners offload their cognitive tasks to devices, they miss the crucial step of engaging with the material actively, which is essential for deep learning. Significance: understanding this mechanism is vital for educators and learners alike. It highlights the necessity of incorporating active learning strategies that involve retrieval practice, which can foster better memory retention and understanding. 2. Prediction error chemistry and internal hypotheses. The concept of prediction error chemistry is pivotal yet often overlooked. It refers to the brain's ability to form internal hypotheses about information before it is processed. When learners rely on AI for information retrieval, they miss the opportunity to develop these internal models, leading to a lack of critical feedback when their understanding is incorrect. This results in a diminished capacity for learning, as the brain does not experience the necessary jolt that comes from recognizing and correcting errors. Significance: this insight is crucial for understanding why offloading cognitive tasks to AI can stifle intellectual growth for students particularly. This means that educational strategies should encourage hypothesis formation and error correction rather than rote searching. 3. The impact of technology on critical thinking and engagement. The paper references a study from MIT's Media Lab that found users of AI tools like ChatGPT demonstrated lower engagement and creativity compared to those who relied solely on their cognitive abilities. This finding underscores a worrying trend. As students increasingly use AI for tasks like essay writing, their ability to think critically and engage deeply with material diminishes. The participants using AI often resorted to copy and paste strategies, leading to a lack of originality and engagement. Significance: this points to a critical educational challenge. If students become accustomed to AI doing the heavy lifting, their ability to engage deeply with content could deteriorate, leading to a generation of learners who are less creative and less capable of independent thought. 4. The shift from memorization to just search. The paper outlines a historical shift in educational practices from memorization techniques to a reliance on search engines, encapsulated by the phrase "just search." This shift is linked to stagnating IQ scores and declining literacy and numeracy skills. The authors argue that this trend has resulted in students reading less and becoming overly reliant on screens for information. Significance: recognizing this shift is important for policymakers and educators who must consider the long-term implications of moving away from foundational learning practices. A return to strategies that emphasize memorization and active engagement with information could be necessary to counteract these trends. 5. Technology as a scaffold, not a crutch. The authors propose a balanced approach to integrating technology in education, suggesting that tools should serve as scaffolds rather than crutches. They advocate for overlearning core facts-based retrieval practice and allowing technology to enhance speed only after mastery is achieved. This perspective emphasizes the importance of foundational knowledge before technology is introduced as a supplementary aid. Significance: this approach can reshape how educators design curricula and integrate technology in classrooms. By fostering a learning environment where foundational knowledge is prioritized, educators can ensure that students remain mentally agile and capable of creative reasoning even in an increasingly tech-driven world. 6. Long-term cognitive consequences for young learners. The implications of over-reliance on AI tools are particularly concerning for young learners whose cognitive development is still underway, as highlighted by researchers like Natalia Kosmina. The risks associated with integrating AI into early education are significant. Developing brains may miss critical opportunities for neural connectivity that arise from engaging with challenges and overcoming difficulties. Significance: this concern calls for urgent attention to how AI tools are introduced in educational settings, particularly for younger students. Policymakers and educators must be cautious and deliberate in their approach to ensure that AI enhances rather than hinders cognitive development. 7. The need for legislative action and educational reform. The paper and subsequent studies call for active legislation and reforms in educational strategies that prioritize cognitive development over convenience. The need for structured guidelines on how to incorporate technology in learning environments is paramount, especially in light of the rapid advancements in AI. Significance: this call to action is crucial for shaping future educational policies. Without thoughtful integration of technology that considers cognitive impacts, educational systems risk producing a generation of learners ill-equipped for critical thinking and problem-solving. Conclusion: the findings and arguments presented in The Memory Paradox: Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in an Age of AI illuminate crucial aspects of cognitive development in the context of advancing technology. The insights regarding memory, critical thinking, and the implications of relying on AI for learning are significant for educators, policymakers, and learners alike. Recognizing and addressing these overlooked points can lead to more effective educational practices that foster deep learning and critical engagement, ensuring that technology serves as a tool for enhancement rather than a crutch for dependence. 1. Dependency on technology and cognitive decline. The paper underscores a critical concern regarding the over-reliance on technology, particularly smartphones and AI tools, which can lead to a decline in cognitive skills. As individuals increasingly outsource their memory and problem-solving tasks to devices, they effectively diminish their own cognitive practice. This phenomenon is supported by neuroscience research, which highlights that the process of actively recalling information strengthens memory. When learners depend heavily on technology for information retrieval, they bypass essential cognitive exercises, which can lead to shallow thinking and reduced critical reasoning abilities. 2. Neuroscience of memory and learning. The paper discusses the neuroscience behind memory formation, emphasizing the role of the hippocampus and basal ganglia in the transition of declarative facts into habitual knowledge. It points out that memories only strengthen through active recall, and reliance on calculators or AI can interrupt this natural process. This disruption can prevent the development of essential cognitive skills such as quick recall and intuitive reasoning, which are critical for higher-order thinking. The discussion around prediction error chemistry further illustrates how learners who offload cognitive tasks to AI miss critical feedback. stunting their intellectual growth. 3. Impact of educational shifts. A significant observation made in the paper is the shift in educational practices over the decades from memorization to a just search mentality. This change has coincided with stagnated IQ gains and declining literacy and numeracy skills among students. The authors argue that this trend reflects a broader societal issue where convenience and efficiency are prioritized over deep learning and knowledge retention. The implications of this shift are profound, affecting not only individual learners but also the collective cognitive capabilities of future generations. For recommended strategies for balanced learning, to mitigate the cognitive risks associated with technology dependence, the authors propose 3 practical strategies for learners. 1. Overlearn core facts until they become second nature. 2. Space retrieval practice to help compact knowledge schemas. And 3. Utilize technology to enhance speed only after achieving mastery of foundational knowledge. These strategies aim to ensure that technology serves as a supportive tool rather than a crutch, facilitating a balanced approach to learning that promotes both cognitive fitness and creativity in reasoning. By emphasizing mastery and active engagement with content, learners can develop a robust knowledge base that allows for effective use of technological aids. 1. The case of the disappearing knowledge in education, the shift from memorization to search. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, educational institutions across the globe began to shift away from traditional memorization techniques in favor of teaching students to search for information. This transition was largely influenced by the rise of the internet and digital technology, which provided immediate access to vast amounts of information. However, this shift raised concerns among educators and psychologists about the potential decline in critical thinking and cognitive skills among students. Studies indicated that as students became more reliant on search engines for information retrieval, their ability to retain and recall fundamental knowledge diminished. This phenomenon mirrors the concerns raised in the paper, The Memory Paradox, highlighting how technology can lead to a superficial understanding of material rather than deep, meaningful learning. 2. The impact of calculators on mathematical understanding. In the 1980s and 1990s, the introduction of calculators in classrooms was met with enthusiasm due to their ability to simplify complex calculations. However, educational researchers began to notice that students who relied heavily on calculators often struggled with fundamental math concepts and number sense. The over-reliance on calculators led to a situation where students would achieve correct answers without understanding the underlying principles, resulting in a shallow understanding of mathematics. This issue parallels the findings discussed in The Memory Paradox, where the paper argues that relying on technology can impede the development of deep cognitive skills and memory retention as essential learning processes are bypassed. 3. The decline of reading comprehension with the rise of digital media. Over the last 2 decades, there has been a noticeable decline in reading comprehension skills among students, coinciding with the increased availability of digital media. Research indicates that students who engage with digital content often skim rather than read deeply, leading to a lack of critical engagement with texts. This trend has raised alarms among educators and cognitive scientists, who assert that deep reading is essential for developing critical thinking skills and comprehension. The connection to the memory paradox is evident in the argument that the cognitive offloading facilitated by technology can hinder the development of essential cognitive skills as students miss out on the opportunity to engage deeply with the material, thus affecting their ability to think critically and creatively. The future outlook on cognitive abilities in the age of artificial intelligence (AI) and large language models (LLMs) presents both challenges and opportunities for education and cognitive development. As we navigate an increasingly technology-driven landscape, the implications of our reliance on AI for information retrieval and problem-solving become ever more critical. Predictions for cognitive development. 1. Cognitive skills deterioration. As reliance on AI tools for immediate answers grows, we may witness a decline in essential cognitive skills such as critical thinking, memory retention, and problem solving. This deterioration is particularly concerning for younger generations whose brains are still developing. The risk of shallow thinking, where individuals accept surface-level information without deeper understanding, could become the norm. 2. Shifts in educational strategies. Educational institutions may increasingly integrate AI into curricula, but this integration must be approached with caution. There will likely be a push for teaching methods that balance technology use with traditional learning techniques, emphasizing memorization and active recall. Schools could adopt hybrid models where students are first required to master core knowledge before using AI as a supplementary tool. 3. Emergence of digital literacy. As students become more accustomed to AI tools, there will be a growing need for digital literacy, encompassing the ability to critically evaluate AI-generated content and remain engaged in deep learning. This literacy will become essential for navigating information overload and discerning credible information from AI outputs. For neuroscience-informed learning, educational frameworks may increasingly draw on neuroscience research to shape teaching methods. Strategies that encourage overlearning, spaced retrieval, and active engagement with material could gain prominence, fostering deeper cognitive connections and reinforcing memory retention. Societal implications. 5. Changing workforce dynamics. The labor market will likely see a shift in the skills employers value, with a greater emphasis on creativity, emotional intelligence, and critical thinking, skills that AI cannot replicate. Workers may need to adapt by developing these uniquely human capabilities to maintain relevance in an AI-augmented workforce. 6. Potential for cognitive load management. As AI tools become more sophisticated, they could assist in managing cognitive load, allowing individuals to focus on higher-order thinking tasks rather than rote memorization. The challenge will lie in ensuring that such tools enhance rather than replace cognitive engagement. 7. Increased mental health awareness. The psychological effects of over-reliance on AI may lead to increased mental health issues, particularly among younger users. As educators and parents become aware of this phenomenon, there will be a push for more holistic approaches to education that prioritize mental well-being alongside cognitive development. Technological integration. 8. Evolving AI tools. Future AI tools may be designed with built-in mechanisms that encourage users to engage more deeply with content, such as prompting users to reflect on their understanding or encouraging collaborative learning. These tools could serve as facilitators of knowledge rather than mere crutches. 9. Legislative actions and guidelines. As concerns about AI's impact on cognitive development grow, governments and educational bodies may implement regulations and guidelines for AI usage in academic settings. These policies could aim to protect students' cognitive health while leveraging the benefits of technology. 10. Research and development focus. Continued research into the cognitive impacts of AI will likely be a priority for academic institutions. Studies similar to those conducted by MIT's Media Lab will contribute to a growing body of literature that informs best practices for integrating AI into education. Conclusion. The future of cognitive development in an AI-driven world hinges on our ability to balance technology's convenience with the necessity of foundational knowledge and cognitive practice. As we look ahead, it is clear that while AI can enhance learning and information retrieval, it is imperative to cultivate an educational environment that prioritizes deep learning, critical thinking, and mental resilience. Through thoughtful integration of technology and a commitment to nurturing cognitive abilities, we can ensure that future generations are equipped to thrive in an increasingly complex landscape.